Ukraine calls on allies to keep pressure on Russia after talks yield no ceasefire.
US President Donald Trump ends bilateral tariff negotiations and imposes common tariffs on 150 countries.
Expanding credit packages to support agriculture, forestry and fisheries.
Hello, so good to see you again on today's news. And here we go to the first step of the show. Ukraine has called on allies to keep pressure on Russia after Kiev and Moscow failed to reach a ceasefire at their first direct talks in more than 3 years after Russia had presented a condition that Ukrainian sources described as unachievable.
Under pressure from U.S. President Donald Trump to end the conflict, the negotiations between Russia and Ukraine in an Istanbul palace lasted well under 2 hours. Russia expressed satisfaction with the meeting and said it was ready to continue contacts. Both countries said they had agreed to trade 1,000 prisoners of war each in what would be the biggest prisoner exchange. However, Kyiv wants the Western allies to impose tighter sanctions unless Moscow accepts a proposal from Trump for a 30-day ceasefire. At the negotiating table, both sides mostly repeated old stands. The Ukrainians wanted an immediate ceasefire and talks to ensue, while the Russians demanded more talks before agreeing on a ceasefire.
Meanwhile, the U.S. President Donald Trump has announced that he would end bilateral tariff negotiations with most countries. Instead, Washington would send letters to 150 countries to unilaterally impose new tariff rates within the coming weeks.
Speaking at a business roundtable in Saudi Arabia, Mr. Trump stated that the United States can no longer afford to meet with each country individually for negotiations due to the sheer number of nations seeking talks. Instead of continuing individual negotiations, Mr. Trump asserted that his administration will unilaterally issue new tariff conditions. These tariffs will be announced via letters overseen by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. It was not immediately clear whether the new tariffs would be in addition to what is already in place, or higher or lower adjustments. On April 9th, Donald Trump suspended the reciprocal tariffs he announced on April 2nd. However, he maintained the base tariff rate of 10% for all countries and territories, except...
On May 16, the Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính just hosted a welcoming meeting in Hanoi for the leaders of Thailand's 7 leading corporations and major enterprises investing in Vietnam as part of the official visit to Vietnam by his Thai counterpart, Paetongtarn Shinawatra.
At the reception, leaders of Thailand's 7 leading corporations and major enterprises investing in Vietnam reaffirmed their long-term commitment to doing business in Vietnam. Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh asked these firms to continue to support Vietnam in attracting reputable Thai and foreign enterprises to learn about and implement effective investment projects in Vietnam. According to Prime Minister, two-way trade between Vietnam and Thailand surpassed $20 billion last year, up 6.4% annually. Both sides are now working toward a new trade target of $25 billion. The land investors have poured nearly $15 billion into 767 projects in Vietnam, making Thailand the 9th largest among 150 countries and territories investing in Vietnam.
Upcoming are some updated news.
A large number of experts, policymakers and representatives of leading technology enterprises from Vietnam and Austria attended a forum on high technology and innovation cooperation in Vienna on May 16th. In his online speech at the event, Deputy Prime Minister Nguyen Chi Dung proposed 4 key areas of cooperation between Vietnam and Austria, focusing on developing key industries such as AI, semiconductors, quantum technology, biotechnology. Austrian Ambassador to Vietnam, Philippe Agathonos, and representatives of the Austrian Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs, Energy and Tourism affirmed Austria's commitment to advancing bilateral cooperation in high technology and innovation.
On the evening of May 16, at the cultural center of Nghệ An province, Ho Tung Mao Walking Street, Vinh City, the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism in collaboration with the People's Committee of Nghệ An Province and other provinces, cities across the country organized the opening of the exhibition, Ho Chi Minh's Most Beautiful Name. This is a key activity to celebrate the 135th anniversary of President Ho Chi Minh's birthday, May 19, 1990 May 19, 2025, expressing the people's respect and deep gratitude for the beloved leader, hero of national liberation. Outstanding cultural figure of Vietnam. More than 400 precious images, documents and artifacts participate in the exhibition. The exhibition takes place from May 16 to 20. A special cultural highlight in the Sen Village Festival 2025.
World Press Photo says it has temporarily stopped crediting Vietnamese American photographer Nic Ut as the author of the photo, Napalm Girl, amid doubts over its authorship. The 1973 World Press Photo Award was awarded to Associated Press photographer Nic Ut for his photo The Terror of War, also known as Napalm Girl. The image of a young Vietnamese girl, specifically Phan Thi Kim Phuc, fleeing a napalm attack in Trang Bang, Tay Ninh, immediately attracted global attention and had a major impact on peace movements. So far, the photo is still believed to belong to Vietnamese American photographer Nic Ut working for the Associated Press news agency.
The State Bank has announced a preferential credit package for agricultural and forestry fishery sector worth 100,000 billion VND. This preferential capital source is expected to effectively support businesses to accelerate and overcome challenges in the context of economic fluctuations. More in the story.
Since 2023, Mr. Nguyen Van Hoai in Ghi Thuy Ward, Vinh City has invested in raising sea bass using a cage system. When he had access to a preferential loan package, he expanded the scale of aquaculture and perfected the process to adapt to weather and diseases. As a result, he has achieved profits of hundreds of millions of Vietnamese dong every year.
I borrowed capital at a low interest rate to invest in aquaculture and equip sturdy boats to prepare for the rainy and storm season.
Agriculture, forestry and fishery are becoming a promising sector thanks to strong growth in production and export. Since July 2023, the credit support package for this sector has been expanded 4 times, with 15 commercial banks participating in the 100 trillion Vietnamese dongs package. In addition, many other preferential credit programs are also implemented for small and medium enterprises. As of February this year, the preferential credit package has disbursed a cumulative amount of nearly 60,200 billion Vietnamese dongs, supporting nearly 13,400 businesses. The expansion of eligible borrowers across the entire agriculture, forestry, and aquaculture sectors provides businesses and household enterprises with more opportunities to invest in equipment innovation, procure and store raw materials.
We urgently need working capital to stockpile raw materials during the rainy season, because people cannot harvest timber at that time.
With its large scale, the 100,000 billion Vietnamese dongs credit package not only solves the capital problem for businesses in urgent times, but also supports the sustainable direction of the agricultural sector.
The last story to end our program today. Thank you so much for your attention. Goodbye and see you later.